This is WFYI News Now. It's March 11th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, lawmakers consider a new funding formula for Indianapolis roadways. A new survey shows job loss affects more than just finances for Hoosiers. And a new initiative at the Indianapolis Public Library lets visitors check their blood pressure for free.
Many people are not aware of hypertension, and they're not even aware of some of the signs and warning signs and symptoms of hypertension.
Those stories coming up. But first, changes to immigration policy under the Trump administration are bringing the role of immigrants in communities like Indianapolis into sharper focus. So who are the immigrants living here? As part of our continuing coverage, WFYI's Zach Castle explains who some of the children and young adult immigrants living here are.
A small share of people in Marion County and Indiana don't have citizenship, but might have temporary protections. The federal government still considers some of those immigrants unauthorized. That means a person has entered the country outside of the immigration system, stayed longer than an approved period, or violated the terms of their stay. This includes certain groups of children and young adults. Those with DACA status or deferred action for childhood arrivals, often called Dreamers, are part of this group. In the Indianapolis metro area, there are about 3,300 active DACA recipients. There's more than twice that statewide. Unaccompanied minors from other countries also have unauthorized status. From 2021 to 2024, about 1,500 to 2,000 children per year were placed with Indiana sponsors. I'm Zach Castle.
For more on local immigrant communities, including a database of the foreign-born population of Indiana by country of origin, go to wfyi.org/news. The upkeep and improvement of roadways in the capital city is an ongoing issue. WFYI's Jill Sheridan reports lawmakers are considering a funding formula that would better account for Indianapolis roadways.
Indianapolis receives state funding through a formula that city leaders have long said is unfair to larger urban areas. State Representative Justin Moed has authored numerous bills in recent years to address road funding. He says the core of the issue is how the state measures roads.
A two-lane county road, it is funded the same if it's 10 miles long, and a stretch of Washington Street in Indianapolis that has 5 lanes is 10 miles long. They both get exactly the same amount of funding.
The bill would maintain the old funding formula for rural communities, but implement a new formula to account for width of roads. It would also provide Marion County with an additional $50 million for at least 2 years. The bill passed the House, but has yet to receive a hearing in the Senate. I'm Jill Sheridan.
A new survey shows the negative impact of job loss often goes far beyond finances for Hoosiers. It can impact housing, mental health, and relationships. Lauren Murphy is with the Indiana Community Action Poverty Institute, which released the survey. Murphy says the data shows people need improved support after a layoff. This includes providing information about training, benefit programs, and job matching.
We were really seeing also that people who were being laid off or had job losses were not being offered actually much support. They were being offered very minimal information sometimes about, unemployment insurance, but not really, here's how to upskill, here's other jobs in the area that are, hiring.
The survey makes recommendations for lawmakers, including greater access to training, better unemployment benefits, and longer notice ahead of a layoff. And for our final story today, the Indianapolis Public Library recently unveiled a new initiative called Libraries with Heart. WFYI's Elizabeth Gabriel reports visitors can check their blood pressure for free at all Indianapolis library locations.
The partnership is with the American Heart Association. They provided about 3 blood pressure monitors at all 25 Indianapolis Public Library locations. People who use the machines can receive a list of providers if they need to follow up. They can also electronically send the results to their local primary care physician. Lynn Griffin is the Senior Director of Community Impact at the American Heart Association of Indianapolis. She hopes the program will provide more awareness.
Many people are not aware of hypertension, and they're not even aware of some of the signs and warning signs and symptoms of hypertension.
Nearly half of American adults have high blood pressure, which can lead to heart attacks, strokes, kidney disease, and more. I'm Elizabeth Gabriel.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you liked today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.